So this year for International Women's Day, we are lucky enough at Canterbury College to have three fantastic inspirational women as our principals, including Lucy Mcleod, Joanna Denness and Jessica Berry. So we're going to be going through a few questions all around the theme of inspirational women in leadership. Firstly, if I could just get each of you to tell me a little bit about yourself. So Lucy, if we start with you.
So I've been working in further education for 23 years. I started as a lecturer teaching English as a foreign language. Over the 23 years, I have progressed really into a different role, well, normally at a higher level, I suppose, about every 3 years. And that's gone through moving to a program director, a curriculum manager, and then a director of partnerships. And I've done a variety of different roles across the curriculum side and the support side in further education.
Fantastic. With your experience as like a lecturer and a program director, was that primarily in English as a second language?
It started as that, but then it branched out into adult community learning. I've taught some maths functional skills. I've taught travel destinations to travel and tourism students, because at one point I did the international marketing for the college. So I was very fortunate to travel around the world and try and recruit international students.
Yeah, Joe, the same question.
My journey's been quite a strange one to land where I am. At the age of 13, I desperately wanted to be a hairdresser. When I actually said at school what I wanted to do, some of my teachers actually gave up on me. And I've never forgotten that. I started my career in hairdressing and became very successful. I managed a salon for a period of time. There was an incredibly large employment rate at the time. The government invested a lot of money in education for adults, and there were opportunities for people like myself that had been in industry for a while to become tutors. I was successful in that role, and from then on in, I never looked back. And then within a year, I was offered a full-time role as a lecturer. Within 2 years, I was managing the area. I then became what they called at the time a super manager, because then I became a manager of multiple areas like we do manage now, catering, hospitality and beauty therapy. Then they asked me, would I consider managing some completely different areas? And these were construction, building services, engineering. I rise to a challenge, so of course I will. Then I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to work with Canterbury College, starting off as an assistant principal and now a deputy principal with the East Kent group. I suppose my journey has been one of what I really wanted to do as a young person into something that I'm incredibly proud of. There isn't one member of my family that has gone through university or degree level like I have, so equally the family incredibly proud. So I do hope that I can inspire people to think, crikey, I start one career which gave me a lot of qualities: communication, empathy, and above all, honesty and trust.
Like getting to do what you aspired to do when you were younger and then seeing that grow is quite a whirlwind journey. I also love the term super manager, and can we bring that back?
Well, let's see what we can do. Let's see what. So
yeah, I think that's amazing, especially for like a beauty student or a hairdressing student, to see someone who started there doing what they love to do as well, and then to go on to kind of lead such a role in an institution like Canterbury College. That's really cool. Yeah, thank you so much. Jess, same question.
So when I was young, I had horses, and I actually got given an award when I was at school for having the most authorised absences, because my mum used to write letters for me at least once a week for sixth form, because I was at Dane Court at a grammar school, and I said, I'm going to go to Writtle College and study equine and business management. The staff sort of went, oh, well, you only need 2 E's to get in there, so there's not really much point in us putting any effort in helping you. I remember sitting in a hall watching a presentation from a careers advisor, and he had a slide up that said Mickey Mouse degrees, and right smack bang in the middle of that slide was equine studies, and I remember thinking that's what I'm going to go and do. And I'm a bit like Joe, I don't let other people's opinions mark what I want to do. When I'd finished that degree, I realised that I was never going to earn enough money to keep horses by working with horses. So I went and got a job in sales, working in recruitment. I was in a sales training course, and there was a bit of the booklet that we had to fill in that said, where are you going to be in 5 years' time? I literally just wrote, I'm going to be a lecturer at Hadlow College, because I'd had enough of doing sales. I wanted to go and teach people about horses. And so I actually interviewed to get a job at Hadlow 3 times, because I didn't really have the industry experience. And I think the third time he'd got so bored of looking at my face and me wanting the job that he gave me a job. And then I sort of worked my way through at Hadlow. This role was advertised at Canterbury College. A similar journey of doing something I was very passionate about, and then getting into teaching and actually realising that the qualities that you need to go and work in those industries do actually stand you in quite good stead.
Yeah, I think that's kind of amazing to hear, because I think you always have people that are worried, oh, I don't have the experience to go and do that, but I know that is something I will be good at. I know that's a skill I have.
I think listening to Jess and Joe, the similarities between the three of us, how I'm different to Jess and Joe is I didn't have a passion when I was a teenager. And actually, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I wasn't particularly academic in terms of my A-level results were not great. I was not good at exams. So any students that struggle with exams, I can relate to. Yeah. But I would like them. I knew whatever I was going to do, I wanted to do it well. I took 2 years off after school and travelled around the world and used that time to think about what I really liked doing. And that's where I learned to teach English as a foreign language. But I had teachers who told me that, I told my parents, a parents' evening, I wasn't actually going to ever amount to much. I think all three of us here are kind of examples to students that don't let anyone ever tell you you're not going to achieve anything.
Yeah, I think that's so true. There's so much pressure to have this passion and this, I'm going to go there and do this. And I think that is the case for some people, but for a lot of people, I think myself included, leaving school, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
You don't always know, and that's okay too.
Fantastic, thank you. So what was your first leadership role, and kind of what challenges did they present? Lucy, if we start with you, what was your first leadership role?
So my first leadership role was a manager of a curriculum department. So at the time that was the international department, so responsible for all the teaching of English to all the international and ESOL students. I think the challenge for that is when you progress up the ladder, you move from being a peer of your colleagues to line managing them, and you have to balance that relationship. Sometimes that can be hard, and also it's the responsibility. The buck then stops with you. You're the one making the decisions, and those people are looking to you for direction. I think that's the biggest challenges I found.
Did it take you time to settle into that new role?
I found it easier than I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And I think, if you lead, I think, as Joe said, with integrity and have empathy, then people will be guided by you. And I think you can take people with you in that respect. But I think that it's always something you worry about more than perhaps sometimes the reality of it.
Joe, same question. What was your first leadership role?
I mean, obviously you want to reflect on a leadership as regards to a whole team of people. But one that sticks in my mind is actually when I was 9 years old and we had prefects at our school. And we instigated a buddy system. And there was one young lad that came from quite a vulnerable family. He was quite a naughty boy. And I decided to take him under my wing because I think I was in something like year 9 or year 10. And I suppose this is when I started to develop my listening skills. And I really developed quite a positive relationship with him. And he started to change, but without realising. And then one day they asked this young lad, why has your behaviour changed so dramatically? He said, because she's helping me. So they made me a prefect. And I still have the picture now with this lovely little bowl haircut and a maroon cardigan with this great big yellow pin prefect. But the look on my face, I was so proud. And every now and then I have that look on my face when something happens in college or whatever. So that for me was my first taste of it. But my first real leadership role within college environment education was within hair and beauty. And my biggest challenge was instigated change, because the previous manager had been there for near on 30 years. And she had retired because we had a new principal, we had a new deputy principal from other colleges, and they were instigating a great lot of change. And our department worked well, but we wanted to do better. But of course, being a new manager, and coming from being in the team to being a manager, there was a lot of change having to be instigated, and there was a lot of backlash, and it was hard. And actually I can still remember how lonely it was coming from being a team member to being a manager and instigating all this change. And that was a lot to deal with, because I was quite a young manager in this institution. So that was the biggest challenge, and it still stays with me.
You do learn those leadership skills from all throughout life, like you say, with the importance of empathy. That starts so early. You see that, and it's amazing how that stuck with you so vividly. Jess, same question.
When I stepped up to that role in the equine department at Hadlow, it was really easy for me, because the team, although we'd all worked together and we were all peers and we were all friends, we were all so supportive of each other, and the department had been outstanding for a long, long time. And so it was actually a really nice step into management, of having a lot of people that were there to support me, people that had been there for a lot longer than I had, that if I tried to make a change to something, they would give me the advice that maybe someone had tried that a few years before my time, and to maybe talk it through. So actually, I had a really supportive team of people. The biggest jump for me was when I went to the head of department role at Animal, and I knew some of the Animal staff. Some of them had been my mentors when I'd done my teacher training. One of the things that I learned very quickly was to not compare where I'd come from to where I was then, because that doesn't resonate with people, just gets people's backs up. And so that was quite a thing for me to learn as a manager. And that's one of the things that stuck with me, that was a real challenge, to not look back at where you'd come from and try and impose that on other people, but to actually manage the situation that you're in.
Yeah. I think that's very true, where you come into a new situation and it's the jobs might be the same, but the people are completely different.
Yeah.
And I think what you've all kind of said is the people are at the heart of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Next question, I open up for a bit of a discussion. What do you think? I mean, you've mentioned some things already. What do you think are important traits of a leader?
I think we've already mentioned empathy, integrity. For me, it's honesty, clarity. I think people need clarity. And as Joe said, you do need to listen.
I think consistency as well, and consistency in listening, because sometimes you can be so driven with a particular task, project. And the reason I say that is a very good friend of mine who I'm still in contact with, that I managed within a hair and beauty department, took me aside one day and said, "Joe, you are not listening. You're starting the next conversation before we've finished." And it's resonated with me, and I really try now. And I also think you shouldn't be asking people to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. I took a GCSE maths exam a few years ago because I wanted to know what the students were going through. So I studied at the same pace as them. I attended the classes. I did the online learning, and I sat the exam. What an experience. It wasn't an experience that I had to do, but I wanted to know what they were going through.
Yeah, those listening skills are important. And I think it's also not feeling like, to be a leader, you have to be seen as different. Some people that I've seen that try to lead, they try to lead by making themselves different to everybody else. But actually, if the team that you're leading see that you have the same challenges as them, they then will go with you, follow your lead, and to believe in what it is that you're saying. You have got to be quite a good salesperson. I think my my first job in recruitment and selling jobs like getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and going empty people's bins, you know, to people that came in to do temp work for me. They'd all walk out the door wanting to be bin men. I managed to sell it really well.
You need to be able to and be prepared to admit when you don't know and admit when you've got something wrong.
Yes.
And I think that is also important. Leaders are not perfect people. They make wrong decisions, they get things wrong sometimes, and you just got to face that fact and admit it.
I feel like I'm in a masterclass of how to be a better manager. Just this is kind of like a quick fire question, I guess, is what's your favourite part about your job now? Lucy, start with you.
My favourite part is knowing that you can affect change for the benefit of staff and students, really. You have the ability with others to make a difference. And that is a nice feeling.
I suppose mine is being on the shop floor, as it were. I just love going into the classes, talking to the staff and the students. That's the best part of my role. I also like to work with those students that perhaps are a struggle a little bit. For a couple of years, I had motor vehicle under my wing, and we had some very naughty young boys, very naughty. So I started to talk to them and I said, look, this is where my office is, you know. And on a regular basis, they used to drop in and have a chat. Oh, we're just coming to see Joe. And that's what I love. The tsunami of students coming in on September, the whatever date it is, because there's that apprehension when you're prepared, because we prepare from January onwards for our new recruits. You know, there is always that whatever happens and whatever role you're in and however long you've been in it, that apprehension before that September start, waiting for that wave to hit, and then you're on it, you know, and you're balancing and you're juggling and what have you, and then you can see the shore coming in December and you think, yeah, we're nearly there, and then the next wave hits.
My favourite bit of the job is creating opportunities, whether that's for staff or for students. Like, so looking at work experience is like one of my favourite things to get involved with, and employer engagement, because the whole point of students coming to college is the opportunities that it opens for them in their careers. So I think that's definitely my best bit, is being able to develop those opportunities.
For a lot of people, it's about going into that world of work, and creating those opportunities is definitely something very different from school, I certainly find. What's kind of the lasting impact you want to leave behind at college? If there could be one thing. Lucy?
If I looked back on this role, what I would want to know is really that students and their parents regard Canterbury College as outstanding. You know, they come here because we do all those things that Joe and Jess have just said, and it's somewhere that they aspire to come to, and the staff love being part of it because we are really making a massive difference to those young people's lives and adults that are coming back to retrain.
I think mine is very similar to Lucy's, because we've been on such a journey at Canterbury College, and some of it has been very, very difficult. But I do believe that there has been so much change that staff are proud to be working at Canterbury College, proud to be part of a very large group, which is no mean feat. That's quite hard. That staff feel that they are appreciated, and the same for students, that they are proud to be at Canterbury College. And I would like to think that they're clambering to get there, that actually, you know, no, that's the place to be, that's where I want to be.
For me as well, for it to be viewed like that by employers, and for employers to see the reputation of Canterbury College as students that are trained here are the best candidates for the job and are the best candidates to take on, and providing work placement opportunities, providing apprenticeships for students to move on to when they finish their level 1 or level 2 qualification.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Kind of all based around that reputation. I think that's definitely something that Canterbury College deserves, and from my experience of it, has already. Next question, I'm going to open this one up for a kind of discussion amongst yourselves as well, which is, do you feel that being a woman has had an impact on your career?
I did think about this quite a lot. I have to be honest, I don't think it has. I've had 2 children. I'm lucky to have a very supportive husband who does all the childcare, and I have not felt a barrier to my progression because I am a woman. But I think I've been brought up also. I'm one of 4 girls, and my mum has always, I suppose, made us into strong women, and I valued that. And I don't think I've ever seen myself as being a woman being anything other than just equal to everything else.
I think the further education sector is very supportive of women. I'm just thinking about the kind of all of the people that I've worked with that are leaders in the FE sector, and that, you know, there are a lot of women who work in teaching in quite senior roles. It seems to be a profession where that doesn't have quite so much of an impact. The actual mindset of I'm going to do what it is that I want to do.
I think because I've never had to think about it, then I've never had any challenges. I think it's also about having the strength to challenge something if it's not right. And that's not just about being a woman in leadership. That's about how people treat people, how people speak to people. You have every right to challenge it, and you can do it in a very, very considerate and nice way. I actually think being an observer when somebody isn't being treated right is worse if you don't challenge it. I think if you can develop, and it's no mean feat because it can make you quite nervous, but if you can develop a little bit of confidence in doing that, it makes you feel a little bit better that I haven't just sat back and thought, oh, that wasn't right, I should have done something there. It's better probably just to say something.
I think that's very true. The act of being the bystander in a lot of those conversations is, it's not agreeing with what they're saying, but it's not actively challenging their thoughts and getting them to think about those ideas. No, thank you all very much for those answers. It is National Career Week this week, which is just a nice coincidence for this one. What advice would you give to students or a student who's currently considering their career?
I thought about this quite a bit, and I think in the main we all have dreams and hopes. However, I've not got where I am today by wishing for it or hoping for it. I've worked hard. You do have to realise that things aren't going to fall in your lap. You make your own path of success as you go along, and it's a bumpy road. I think you just have to take each day, you take each week, you take each month, you take each year. And I think this last year that we've been through has made people reflect a great deal. But if you want something and you're driven enough, then go for it and talk to people about it, because people are willing to help. People will support and perhaps get you on the right path for whatever your goals are. But you do have to work for it.
I think what myself and Jo said before as well, around if somebody doesn't feel that your career choice is, you know, either good enough or what they think you should be doing, you don't have to let that stop you from moving in that direction and going towards that career. If that's what you want to do, go out and get it. Like Jo said, work hard for it, and you can do whatever you put your mind to if you work hard enough.
I think, Josh, for me, it would be 2 things really. It would be, you never know what opportunities will arise from different situations. When I first started on this career path, I took a job which was £9,000 a year salary. And my parents at the time was like, what are you doing? You know, that is low. I mean, it was low. Even for then, it was low. But I said, well, you never know where it will lead to. And literally from that moment, I have got to here. There are so many interesting jobs out there, and get some really good career advice, because I think sometimes they are not aware of what the potential they could be. And there's lots of different opportunities out there. I do say to students, you need to be prepared to do the basics to start with. Nothing is below you. Employers want people with initiative, they're reliable, and they will invest in you if they see that in you.
Just a last question is, who are the women that inspire you?
It's been the people that I've worked around. You know, I'll be honest, it's people like Jo and Jess. It's my mum who have shaped who I am. But I will say, though, that I think in the last year, there has been quite a lot of talk about how female world leaders have dealt with this pandemic particularly well. And if you look up like the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Taiwan, Germany, they've been able to deal with this pandemic because they have made decisions quickly and been decisive, clear leaders. And I admire those women.
Never really reflected on whether I've been inspired by someone, but I've definitely been moulded by certain people that I've met along the way. So I had 3 female lecturers when I was at uni, and they were all very strong women. I had 2 different managers when I was in recruitment, and one of them, I was terrified of her, and I thought I was rubbish at the job and it was awful. And then my next job, my manager was the complete opposite. My second manager definitely moulded my management skills because I'd learned what not to do, and from a kind of moulding me and inspiring me as to what sort of manager I was going to be, she definitely did that.
Well, mine was very much the same as Lucy. It's the people that I work with and that I have worked with. And some have had huge battles in their own health and so forth. And some are not here now. So they're the ones that inspire me. I think you go through phases of inspiration, and it depends what situation you're in at the time. So I have to say the people that have inspired me over the last year are those that have volunteered and helped, the food banks and so forth, because we all are in our own little world at the moment and our bubble, and we're all trying to help other people. But those that go that extra mile, where some of us might say, well, yeah, but I haven't got the time for that, I think are amazing.
And thank you. I think that's just like a lovely overall message as well. It's just these inspirational women don't look like anything. They're the people that are all around you, that you work with every day, that you spend time with, that shape you. I think that's a great message to kind of take away from this. But look, thank you all so much for doing this. It's been really great to talk to you about your careers, about what you're passionate about, what you're excited about, what you want to leave behind. It's been really a wonderful conversation. So thank you so much.